Hi, Rushrecap here. Today I am going to explain a movie called The Substance. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In a high-tech lab, a scientist carefully injects a mysterious green fluid into an egg yolk. For a moment, nothing happens. But in the blink of an eye, an identical copy emerges from the first yolk. This small experiment sets the stage for the unsettling journey to come. Meanwhile, on the bustling streets of Hollywood, legendary actress Elizabeth finally receives her star on the Walk of Fame. Cameras flash, fans cheer, and for a brief moment, it seems like Elizabeth's career is immortalized. During the first year, the star is constantly surrounded by admirers, flowers, and fanfare, a symbol of her decades of success. But as time marches on, the crowds thin out. The excitement fades, the star begins to crack, and nobody bothers to fix it. Elizabeth, now middle-aged, is no longer the star she once was. Job offers dwindle, and eventually, she ends up hosting an aerobics show, a far cry from her golden days. One afternoon, while on a break from filming, she finds the women's bathroom out of order and decides to use the men's instead. Hidden in one of the stalls, Elizabeth overhears a private conversation. The network president, Harvey, walks in, talking on his phone. He doesn't realize Elizabeth is there, and he complains bitterly about her age, remarking that the show needs someone fresh and youthful. Elizabeth is devastated but remains silent, listening as her future is casually dismissed. At lunch that same day, Harvey officially fires Elizabeth, though he avoids giving any direct reasons. His usual bravado is gone in person, replaced by a vague excuse about changes in the network's direction. Disheartened, Elizabeth leaves the meeting. Driving home, her thoughts are elsewhere, on her fading career, her place in a youth-obsessed industry, and she doesn't notice the car speeding toward her. A crash ensues, sending Elizabeth to the hospital. Surprisingly, she emerges from the accident without a scratch. As the doctor reviews her file, he notices it's her birthday and wishes her a happy one. This seemingly small gesture triggers a breakdown in Elizabeth. Tears flow as she realizes the years have passed, and she feels trapped by the weight of time. Afterward, the nurse enters to conduct one final examination. While checking her spine, the nurse cryptically mentions that she's the perfect candidate before slipping a small package into her jacket as she leaves. When Elizabeth gets home, she finds a flash drive in the package with the words "The Substance" written on it, alongside a telephone number and a note that reads, "It changed my life." That evening, Elizabeth is approached by Fred, an old schoolmate who recognizes her instantly. He flirts and compliments her beauty, giving her his phone number before disappearing into the night. Curious, Elizabeth watches the video on the flash drive. It's an advertisement for The Substance, a product that promises the user the experience of living as a younger, better version of themselves. The catch? Every 7 days, you switch between your younger and older bodies. Skeptical, Elizabeth dismisses it as a scam and tosses the drive in the trash. Later that night, she drowns her frustrations at a bar, drinking alone. Alcohol doesn't sit well with her aging body, and soon enough, she rushes back home and vomits. Overwhelmed by the sharp contrast between her current self and the image of her younger self, she lashes out. She throws a snow globe at a framed poster of her youthful face, shattering both the glass and her emotions. In a moment of desperation, she retrieves the flash drive from the trash and calls the number. A mysterious voice answers. After confirming her address, they give her an unknown location and quickly hang up. The next morning, Elizabeth receives another blow to her fragile self-esteem. An ad in the newspaper calls for auditions for the next Elizabeth for the very show she used to host. It's a stark reminder of the industry's relentless pursuit of youth. Later that day, she checks her mail and finds a sleek black envelope. Inside is a card with the number 503 written on it. Intrigued, Elizabeth follows the instructions she was given and finds herself in a shady, dimly lit alley. The entrance is barely visible, and she uses the card to gain access. Inside, she navigates through narrow corridors until she reaches a room filled with deposit boxes. She finds box 503, opens it, and retrieves a small cardboard box. Inside is a mysterious kit containing the substance, an activator, stabilizer, a switch, and specialized food. The instructions are simple yet alarming. Activate once, stabilize daily, and switch bodies every 7 days without fail. The final warning: Remember, she's you. Back at home, Elizabeth stares at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, contemplating her next move. With a deep breath, she injects herself with the green liquid from the activator. At first, nothing seems to happen. But then, her body convulses in pain, and she collapses onto the floor. Her eyes blur as her pupils duplicate, and strange bulges appear along her spine. In a grotesque transformation, a giant slit opens across her body, and a new human emerges from within. The woman standing in the mirror looks like Elizabeth, but younger, more vibrant. Upon closer inspection, she notices her new blue eyes, with faint traces of Elizabeth's original green peeking through. After vomiting more of the green liquid, the new body tends to the old one, feeding it the special food packs provided in the kit. The transformation is complete. The following morning, the new Elizabeth, now going by the name Sue, experiences a brief panic when her nose starts bleeding, and a sharp screeching noise fills her ears. Remembering the instructions, she quickly uses the kit to stabilize herself, extracting spinal fluid from her old body and injecting it into her new one. The bleeding stops immediately, and the noise disappears. With a newfound sense of purpose, Sue goes out to buy new clothes. Feeling rejuvenated, she attends an audition under her new name, Sue, and impresses Harvey with her beauty and energy. Desperate to have her on the network, Harvey agrees to Sue's one condition. She will only work every other week, claiming she needs time to care for her sick mother. The next week, Sue basks in the attention she receives from the public. Her face is plastered on billboards, and her popularity skyrockets. She enjoys her time in the spotlight, but every day, she remembers to stabilize her body by tending to Elizabeth's old form, which she keeps hidden in her apartment bathroom. At the end of the week, the time comes for Sue to switch back. She uses the special kit to connect both bodies, triggering a blood exchange. The transformation leaves Sue unconscious, and when she wakes up, Elizabeth is in control again. Immediately, Elizabeth feels the physical pain of returning to her older body, the ache of her back scar reminding her of the price she pays for youth. Her week as Elizabeth is dull and lifeless. She longs to be Sue again, counting down the days until she can return to her younger self. Despite the monotony, Elizabeth remains diligent, stabilizing her old body to keep the process going. Each day passes with a mixture of boredom and resentment. Another black envelope arrives, signaling it's time to pick up a refill kit from the alley. When Sue returns the following week, she's determined to make her new life permanent. She begins working on a secret hideout in her apartment, chiseling away at a hollow wall in the bathroom to create a space where she can store Elizabeth's old body. The work takes hours, and the noise attracts the attention of her neighbor, who comes over to complain. But when he sees Sue, his irritation vanishes, replaced by awe at her beauty. She coolly tells him that Elizabeth has moved out and shuts the door in his face. Once the hidden room is complete, Sue tucks Elizabeth's body and a large poster of her younger self inside. Free from her past, Sue fully embraces her new life. She hosts her show with enthusiasm, and the public adores her for her youthful energy and beauty. She parties late into the night, reveling in the attention from young men. One night, she brings a man home, and their night is cut short when her nose starts bleeding again, and the screeching noise returns. Sue rushes to the bathroom and finds Elizabeth's body writhing on the floor, having consumed the last of the food packs. Desperate to return to her date, Sue breaks the rules. Instead of switching bodies, she recycles a stabilizer tube and extracts more fluid from Elizabeth's body, injecting it into herself. Feeling revitalized, she returns to her guest, but the night is tainted by a disturbing dream. In it, her body unzips, spilling organs and blood across the room. She wakes up in a panic and quickly completes the body switch. The next morning, Elizabeth wakes to a mess left by Sue and a note from the man, promising to come back later for his bike. Horrified by the consequences of Sue's extended time in control, Elizabeth notices part of her hand looks unnervingly old. Horrified by the consequences of Sue's extended time in control, Elizabeth notices that part of her hand looks unnervingly old. As she gazes in the mirror, wrinkles begin creeping up her arm. Panicking, she stabilizes her body using the kit, but the realization sets in: Sue's reckless actions are speeding up the degeneration of Elizabeth's original form. In the following days, Elizabeth grows more anxious about the process. She becomes increasingly resentful of Sue, who seems to take full advantage of the youth and freedom that Elizabeth is paying the price for. Elizabeth's body weakens, her bones aching more each day. She watches helplessly as Sue lives a glamorous life, partying, working, and being adored by the public. The contrast between their lives becomes unbearable. Elizabeth's week in her old body drags on, and when the time comes to switch again, she hesitates. The toll on her body is undeniable. As she holds the kit in her trembling hands, a question begins to form in her mind. What if she didn't switch back this time? What if she allowed Sue to take over permanently? Despite the temptation, Elizabeth goes through with the switch, and Sue returns, more vibrant and energetic than ever. However, the week of indulgence has left Sue careless. She skips a stabilization injection, believing her body can handle it. But when the screeching noise returns, louder and more painful than before, Sue realizes her mistake. She rushes to stabilize herself but is horrified to find that Elizabeth's body is showing signs of irreversible decay. Desperate to maintain control, Sue begins using more and more of Elizabeth's spinal fluid, but the effects are fleeting. Her nosebleeds become more frequent, and she starts experiencing terrifying hallucinations. In one particularly vivid vision, Sue sees Elizabeth's decaying body rising from the hidden compartment, accusing her of selfishness. The hallucinations blur the lines between reality and fantasy, leaving Sue questioning her sanity. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, trapped in her decaying form, grows weaker. Her mind, however, remains sharp, and she begins plotting her escape. She knows that if she doesn't act soon, Sue will destroy them both. One night, while Sue is unconscious after another wild party, Elizabeth seizes the opportunity. She switches their bodies one final time but leaves Sue's form barely stable. In her younger body, Elizabeth feels a surge of power and determination. She erases all traces of Sue's identity, reclaiming her life for herself. But the cost of the transformation weighs heavily on her, as she knows that she can't keep this cycle going much longer. As Elizabeth stands in front of the mirror, admiring her youthful reflection, the faint sound of screeching begins to fill the room again. Thanks for watching this thrilling breakdown of The Substance. If you enjoyed the deep dive into this eerie journey of youth and identity, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Rushrecap for more exciting recaps of your favorite movies and series. We bring you the most detailed and engaging summaries, so you never miss a beat. Got a movie or show you want us to cover next? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay tuned for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.